Since the World Cup final in April, Sri Lanka cricket has hardly been out of the news. There have been resignations, the appointment of a new committee, allegations of corruption and match fixing, plans for a Sri Lanka Premier League. The list seems endless. More recently, former captains Kumar Sangakkara delivered the Spirit of Cricket lecture at Lord's and received a standing ovation. But not everyone is happy, it seems. The Sports Minister has asked the newly appointed interim committee to examine the speech and submit a report. So, what's next? Here to give his views on Sri Lanka and its cricketing fortunes or misfortunes is former chairman of Sri Lanka Cricket and the current secretary of the Sri Lanka Golf Union, Anna Punchiheva. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Anna. Welcome. Now, tell me briefly, how upbeat or downbeat are you about Sri Lanka's cricketing fortunes or misfortunes, as the case may be?
I'm always upbeat, Savitri, because we are a land of talented cricketers and land of people who love cricket. So you have to be upbeat, and they have the talent to be the best in the world. So I'm always upbeat.
Well, you were in charge of Sri Lanka cricket when we, for the first and only time, took on the cricketing world and came out right on top, winning the World Cup in 1996. If you look back in your mind, what were the three most critical factors on and off the field that took us to the pinnacle of the cricketing world?
On the field was that I made that so-called stupid statement when I became president. I said we are going to be the best in the world in year 2000, which everyone laughed, when you were bottom of the rankings or just above Zimbabwe. And of course, I said that two purposes. One is so that we have a goal and then we have a plan to achieve that. And two is to give us confidence to our team that they can match skill-wise any team in the world. And so that it's because cricket, like any sport, 90% is up there in the mind. Other critical factors was that in the committee, I told the committee when I got in, look, let's all work as a team. Let's do what's right for cricket. But remember, we might be only here for a year. I also told the team that as a board, we won't interfere. We'll let you know, do what you want. You'll let me know what you need. I'll give that, but I need the results. And the third one was, of course, I brought in a foreign coach and a foreign physio. So to complement all that together. And then I had a young so-called backroom team in Davotmo. And Dulip Mendis, who I made the manager, and he was the chairman of selectors, and of course Arjuna. So I gave them responsibility. And the rest was history, as they say.
Now, you mentioned bringing in Dav Watmore, and obviously that coaching, the coaching skills brought in the results. Why haven't we as a nation asked him back?
Well, it was a different situation in '96 when I brought in Dav Watmore. As I said, cricket was bottom. We had a Sri Lankan coach. I'm not saying the Sri Lankan coach they are in par with anyone else in the world, but I found that the Sri Lankan coaches had more off-the-field problems they had to face because of, people saying, put my son in, put my son-in-law in, a lot of pressure. And I felt that we needed a foreign coach who can't be influenced or who can't be disturbed on the main job. And in Dav, I found the best of both worlds. One is he knew all the modern scientific training methods of Australians. And of course, his heart was in Sri Lanka because he was born in Sri Lanka.
Well, I remember Arjuna in an interview with me, in fact, said that the rot actually set in when the money started coming in, when people from all over, they just crawled out of the woodwork and wanted to be a part of this money-making machine. Do you agree with that?
Being president was, especially after '96, it was a very high position, it was looked upon, if I may use a cliche, more than being a minister even, It was high profile, worldwide exposure, let alone put the money aside, whatever that is, and that I can't comment. But, it was a high profile thing where everyone would like to be part of the team. So, it gradually built up. So, but if you treated it ran it like a corporate company, because I hear now it's registered under a company actually, so there are some guidelines that they should follow, I think, under the Companies Act and all that. So if we treat it like that, because the cricket is our product, and the cricketers are salesmen. You know, they go out and sell the product, and so as in any company, that's your core business. You know, that's your core or your gold mine.
How do you view the widespread allegations of corruption and mismanagement of sports administration? And this is not simply confined to cricket, but also rugby and various other sports. What do you think we can do about this?
When I came in, I gave this vision, and then I did a corporate plan, 5-year corporate plan. It was conducted by SLMBD, Sri Lanka Business Development, whatever, it was semi-government one. We spent 4 days in Bentota. We did a strategic plan, about 22 of us, cricketers, part administrators, Arjuna, Dav Watmo, Anda Tenokon, Michael Tissera, they all took part. And we did the short-term goals and the long-term goals, and then we had strategies, and then we have a budget, and we had a cash flow, and then manage it. So I think if every governing body for sport does that, there won't be problems. And maybe the ministry also insists, look, we want these corporate plans done, we want the budgets, we want the cash flows, and there should be someone competent enough there to go through it and say, look, this is not correct, I think we should do it. Not without interference, but guide them. Even guide them how to do a corporate plan. And so then, you know, you live within your means.
We take a quick commercial break now. On the other side, we ask Ana Punchiheva about the allegations of corruption, the controversy surrounding Sri Lanka cricket, and former captain Kumar Sangakkara's speech at Lord's. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching the Big Picture Business Program, and we continue with more views and insights from Ana Punchiheva. Well, even during your tenure, despite you putting everything on the table, there were allegations of mismanagement. Do you remember?
If there was, it was always, there's a budget which we shared with our stakeholders, and it was transparent, and the stakeholders knew exactly where we were going, how we were going to get there, and where the money was going to come, and where the money was going to be spent. So it was all transparent.
Well, the talk of the town these days, Ana, is Kumar Sangakkara's Spirit of Cricket lecture in London at the MCC, which happened on the 4th of July. How do you view the remarks he made, sometimes scathing, I would imagine, about cricket's politicization and nepotism at the top of the game's administration at this point of time?
I would first say it was honor. I was very proud to hear that he was invited to give this speech, the first Sri Lankan. Secondly, the youngest, and in that august body of the Lords. And he spoke very well, and he always speaks very well.
And thirdly, he got a standing ovation.
Yeah, at the end. And someone said all Trinitians, or all the good speakers come from Trinity, and Lakshman Kadirigama, Gamini Disanayaka. But I mean, yeah, I mean, he didn't mention any names. Maybe he told what's current ground reality is the situation. So in that sense, it was good. It's eye-opener. Someone said it. But if it does contravene the contracts with the cricket board, then, you know, that's wrong. And it's something he should have maybe not said. But I don't know. I didn't I didn't listen to the whole speech. I just saw some extracts of the speech.
So, what has happened to the concept of keeping the game clean? Why aren't more cricketers and even the administrators actually coming clean and telling, or whistleblowing, so to speak, about what is happening behind closed doors?
I can't talk on behalf of the administrators why they would not speak out, or why they should speak out, and why they are not speaking out. I mean, they must be, each one is different. They must be having reasons. I mean, in Kumar's speech, he mentioned Gamini Disanayaka as a good administrator. Then he mentioned out of the interim committee, Vijay Malasekar was professional and good. So I mean, so it's an individualistic thing. You know, how each one who is heading that, how he handles it. Obviously, they bring in skills on board, because they have had a proven record in the fields that they are in. and they try and match that with the current, they should try and match that with the current requirement of the game, which is changing. I mean, what was right and correct in 96 is not what's right and correct today. The world has changed, the game has changed.
Well, here's another intriguing fact. Sri Lanka cricket has been run by an interim committee for years on end. What are the administrative and or the regulatory barriers, if any, to appointing a fully fledged board?
Well, if you look back, why was there necessity to bring in an interim board? It's because, again, I think Kumar has mentioned in his speech that there was thuggery and things like that at AGM. So I think that forced the then government to bring an interim committee. You see, there's a thing, I mean, I can remember Lee Kuan Yew said, democracy is a luxury the third world can't afford. So maybe at that time, we needed something to put things in order and get the constitution put in place, done all the planning, and then put that in place, and then got the stakeholders involved in the process, then go in for democratic elections.
How does this status quo actually affect our image overseas? I mean, the ICC has come out on record and said that it is unacceptable.
Well, ICC have given a deadline. They have said next year it should be elected bodies, and they will give another grace period of 1 year. So we're talking about 2013. I see today's papers, Minister has said they will have an election in January 2012. And my message to anyone who's going to contest is, I mean, there's all this thing about camps. You know, a few months ago, someone said I'm in one camp, or the other I said no, I'm in no one's camp. At everyone, get together, think of the bigger picture, the game, the love of the game and love of the country. Forget your differences. Let all 2 parties or 3 parties who are going to contest get together with the stakeholders and in a democratic institution, run cricket. And, you know, don't vie for power, share, power sharing, like the government is doing now. It's power sharing. You've got a coalition partners. So have a coalition cricket board. And that's my hope and prayer that will happen, because the current situation demands a setup like that, where, you know, you're going to have one party who's going to win, and then always going to have to be, they have to keep looking over their shoulder, who's behind and who's not. And here, if all go together, put their brains together. I know all the everyone has the same objective. It's just a strategy that they differ in. So pool their ideas and head and, you know, have the common strategy as well.
And that concludes our interview with Ana Punjiheva. It's time now for another commercial break. When we return, we take a closer look at how the general public views the political landscape in Sri Lanka today. Stay with us.